General Mkhwanazi alleges that I am a conduit for criminal cartel seeking to weaken the South African Police Service. This allegation is denied and it is false. It has been made without substantiation. In my view, in the same manner, several other statements made by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi which have not been properly tested. And I really hope this commission is going to. I thought the PKTT was coming again. On the contrary, Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi publicly claimed that fellow generals were innocent, as if he possessed authority equivalent to that of a judicial officer. You see, Judge, when I tell you my evidence is not a conviction, that's because it's not a conviction, it's an allegation. For a general to come on TV and say this one is innocent, he's told the courts that we no longer need them. The investigators will decide. I find this particularly concerning because a magistrate, that statement of Mkhwanazi, that General Mkhwanazi, that they were innocent, it's concerning to me because a sober magistrate had, on the available evidence, found sufficient grounds to issue an arrest warrant. General Mkhwanazi, instead of making allegations against me, should perhaps explain to this commission if he is in actual fact the conduit for Mr. Timmy Marimoto, a known criminal, who he is alleged to have a close relationship with. There are in fact allegations that General Mkhwanazi has interfered in the arrest of Mr. Marimoto, and it is a fact that Mr. Marimoto's wife has worked in crime intelligence as a police colonel, her first job in the province of KZN, where General Mkhwanazi is the provincial commissioner. Now, Chairperson, I assume that Mrs. Marimoto worked in crime intelligence under the tutelage of General Dumasani Kumalo. If crime intelligence cannot understand that a wife of a convicted criminal, an alleged drug dealer, is heading a department, then I am concerned, Chief.
You say IDAC? IDAC itself, the institution?
I laid a case against the members of IDAC.
Which members?
Dylan Perumal, Brian Pariachi, but I did request that the institution itself, but those were the two names, because at the time when I laid the case, I hadn't really heard Andrea Johnson say very much yet at the time. But I did open a case against them for the way in which my case is being handled, for the fact that they came on national TV to discuss the merits of a case that was sub judice, which my attorney told me was totally wrong. So I have laid a case against them. Amongst the things that happened is I was recorded by an advocate. I do not recall giving her permission to do it, or maybe I did, but I don't recall it. The advocate comes here and discusses the content of that recording, which in my view is privileged. Not that I have a problem with what she said, but because I want the whole 2-hour recording to be played here, Chief, because you must hear what she said. You must. But like I say, there are certain issues where perhaps you must guide me, Commissioner. As you've learned in our first session, I'm not a lawyer. Perhaps you must guide me. Chairperson, if she's brave enough to hand that whole recording over, the first words to me are, I'm Advocate Drew Ransome.
My understanding, though, is that within the NPA, they are given or assigned the proposition of advocate just as a position, not so much whether she is admitted as an advocate or as an attorney. That's my understanding.
Okay, Justice, if that's the answer, then I 100% accept it. Okay, I'm just going to move on from the next point.
I think you must read it into the record.
Must I read it into the record?
Yes, I regard the distinction as important because notwithstanding what the chair said, you regarded, she did give the same explanation that the chair is giving. And
no problem, Advocate. I just thought the chair was just correcting me because
okay.
I regarded the distinction as important because I was led to believe that she had the title of advocate. Insofar as she took the time to explain her professional status to the Commission, I believe she did not exercise the same degree of circumspection when she interacted with me. Chairperson, I just wish to draw your attention to this. Before I go to Joburg, if my dockets are not stolen, I got no business in Joburg. And if I have no business in Joburg, I would never have heard of IDAC. And that to me, Chairperson, is the part that I trust me when I tell you, I know you don't miss anything, but I think South Africa is missing. That if those dockets are not stolen, which is what they were, I've got no business with IDAC. I opened criminal cases at 2 police stations, namely Orlando Police Station, under case numbers 4310-2024, 44-10-2024, 45-10-2025, and Langlater Police Station under case number 8711-2024. Upon my return to Cape Town, I reported what I regarded as possible impropriety concerning the handling of my criminal cases and the possibility that the investigations were being compromised or deliberately silenced. I emailed the Minister of Police as reflected in Annexure FAA11, in which I raised my concerns regarding the potential compromise of the investigation. Now, Commissioners, you know, when General Mkhwanazi came to the ad hoc committee, he was the last one to speak. And what he said is, I submitted an email to the Minister at 6:30 in the morning, which is not unusual for me because when I go to Parliament, I'm there before 6. But within an hour, the Minister had responded. I regard that as service delivery. However, the truth of the matter is that I sent the Minister the first email regarding my complaints 10 days earlier. The email the Minister responds to is the second one. And that is also what is not being told. Please say FAA11. The Minister did not wake up before he had breakfast and responded to my email. I had sent an email almost 2 weeks prior saying, Minister, something's happening here. He didn't respond to my email, which is why I initially thought the Minister's part of the cover-up as well. And I apologize to the Minister now. I emailed the Minister of Police as reflected in Annexure FAA11, in which I raised my concerns regarding the potential compromise. The then Minister of Police's office directed my complaint to the IDAC on the same day of the second email. Prior to this, I had not known what the mandate of IDAC was or know any person working at IDAC. Advocate Ramsamy also states under oath that she advised me that I'm in possession of the documents, that me being in possession of the documents was a criminal offense. She has admitted that she recorded the entire conversation of my meeting with IDAC, and because I am confident in my truth, I implore this commission to request that recording and play it before the nation. Many things were said, including a claim from Advocate Ransamy that she had to flee KZN because of an investigation into SAPS and out of fear of Lieutenant General Khumalo. That, Chairperson, is in the recording. I ask that you subpoena that recording because I've emailed IDAC, I've asked for the recording, they've not responded. We have attempted to obtain the recording made by Advocate Ramsamy to prove the lies she talks about me. The strength of the cases I laid amongst other things. Now, Chairperson, after we had finished with my statements, my A1s, after commissioning it, after having handed the evidence that was given, that I had given to, I think I gave it to Rupeshu because I think Perumal was busy on the phone. I may be wrong. Mr. Rupeshu rather, because Mr. Perumal was on the phone, I think. I went down, I went to smoke. I came back up and she says to me, we have enough to move on 2 cases immediately. That will be in the recording as well, Chairperson. So I'm confused when she comes here. Says to you she recorded the meeting, but says to you in the words of Mr. Rupeshu that I gave him foko. And I'm offended by that because the meeting went well. She further stated that it was very strange that there were no cameras in the corridor of my parliamentary office that could show who placed the documents under my door, and that she found it highly improbable that this is how I received the documents. I again refer to the Commission. Please, Commissioners, get that recording. I, Chairperson, did not apply for that office that I received. Parliament issued me with a key. The fact that that camera right there does not reach my office as far as I can see, because when I look out the door, I can't see the camera. She asked me, is there a camera above your door? I said, and it's on the recording, it doesn't cover my office. It's on the recording. Why she finds it suspicious, Chairperson, she must take it up with Public Works because I don't install cameras.
But what will the recording help then? Because she said in her evidence before the Commission that she found it highly improbable that there was no camera near your office.
No,
so what is it that you say the recording will reveal?
The recording will prove that I did not give them focal. She was ready to move on 2 cases, her own words. The recording will also prove that she said to me, and when I think about it, I don't know if she was trying to bait me or to get me to say something. I had to flee KZN because of Khumalo. I had to pack up and come to the Western Cape. She says it. It's on the recording.
Yes, I'm asking about paragraph 394, where you say, she stated that it was very strange that there were no cameras in the corridor of my parliamentary office that should show who placed the documents under my door, and that she found it highly improbable that this was how I received the documents. She said that in her evidence before the commission.
Yeah.
You say, so why do you say, I will again refer the commission to the recording that must be played? How will the recording help us?
I want the committee to hear my response to her when she asked about the cameras and her response back to me.
Okay.
I want the committee to hear that.
That you said there are no cameras, and what did she say?
She said, no, that's fine.
Okay.
Or something like that. I
Okay.
respectfully request that the commission have the recording transcribed and placed on the record. The purpose would be to enable the commission to identify what I believe are material inconsistencies in Advocate Ransami's evidence concerning the events that took place on 6 April 2025. Due to a current case I have opened concerning alleged impropriety by IDAC and its officials, I respectfully decline to respond further on certain aspects in order to avoid jeopardizing the criminal case. I am able to provide a video to the Commission which in my view demonstrates that Advocate Ransami's allegations regarding the probability of how I received the documents created an unnecessary and misleading impression. I take great offense at what I regard as a misleading narrative concerning the day at which we met. I respectfully request that the Commission consider whether evidence warrants any appropriate finding or sanction. Advocate, may I please approach you?
Yes.
Can I come to you?
No, perhaps let's take the lunch adjournment, and
Yes.
during the adjournment you may then...
Chairperson, if I may?
Yes.
Because the colored community will tease you about anything. It's time for me to take my meds, man. So I was just going to ask her if I can just stand outside the door and take my tablet. That's all I was going to ask her. Thank you, Chairperson. We can do it during lunch.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chair.